Good day to you. Like any good American family room, my family room has a television in it. And that TV is placed central to the room. The furniture is arranged around the TV. Now, the TV doesn't have a central place as it has had in the past because the computer was replacing that, and we're sitting not so much watching TV, but with our laptops and our phones and our tablets. But still, television has a very big role in American society. And the TV that we just saw there had on the Kelly Ripa, Good Morning America, and Ryan Seacrest is her host. He's coming out of radio, and this is very, very typical of television, is it not? It's very much entertainment oriented as a medium. So let's get into it today. That's what we're talking about as we take on this chapter, our latest chapter. We're taking on television, which we've already kind of introduced in some ways. Let me turn down the volume over there. And let's start out with one of the most important thinkers in the area of media criticism to talk about his saying about media, because he says television by its very nature turns everything into entertainment. Even when you want to do serious stuff like documentaries and news, the format of the medium being a square box, well, not square, a rectangular box with video that's moving, gravitates towards the entertainment world. Now, television has changed drastically, as we will shortly find out, in its history, and it's being pushed very much by the internet today. And we're even trying to define exactly what television is anymore. Is it streaming or is it something else? So let's talk about the invention of television. It was all invented by a farmer in the United States. His name was Philo Farnsworth, Philo. He lived in Utah, and he developed the idea of TV at the age of 14. Yeah, he was out in the fields and he was going back and forth planting rows and rows and rows. And he had all this time to think about things, and he also liked to experiment with technology. And what he decided was if he could recreate that motion of the plow going down one row and then turning and coming back up another row in the field, if he could create that on a screen, he could create motion, just like movies created motion using flipping photos. He decided he could do that with lines on a television. And so that's what he did. He invented what is technically known as a phosphorus coated screen with lines of information. That's still how TVs operate today. Now, by the way, there is a competing inventor who claims that he invented television. It's Vladimir Zworykin. He was a Russian immigrant who actually had a Ph.D. in engineering. And he filed a patent with the RCA company. Remember that, Radio Corporation of America? He filed a patent to have his invention of TV be the accepted one, but it was not accepted, unfortunately. All right, so let's go to the beginning of broadcasting. We have the invention now. How do we get from TV itself showing lines into broadcasting, which is the transmitting of that information across vast distances? So in 1939, we have the first significant TV broadcast, which was NBC, the National Broadcasting Corporation, and it was covering the World's Fair. A World's Fair used to happen every year. It's where you go and see the latest inventions, like a new automobile or a new air balloon. We don't have them so much anymore, but that was the first event that was covered. And then similar to radio, when World War II hit, specifically 1948 to 1952, the FCC froze all TV licenses because, again, there was the fear that that technology could make it into the hands of the enemy. But that was freed up after the 1950s, and then television started to take off. It started to become embedded in the average American's lifestyle to the extent that the average person, the average household, I should say, has television on for more than 7 hours a day. That's 1/3 of the day that we have TV in our presence. So let's talk about some of the important events in television that led its way in its historical development. And the first one is a television show that was called I Love Lucy, a black and white television show. It was the longest lasting entertainment program of the 1950s. And it featured a comedian, Lucille Ball, who is a red-headed comedian. That was part of her costuming. And her husband was Cuban. And his name was Desi. So Lucy and Desi. And then they were also married in real life. So this show is a groundbreaker for a couple reasons. First, it presented the first interracial marriage on television, a Cuban and an American. Secondly, it was the first show to use a laugh track. You know, do you ever feel forced into laughing? Of course you do. That's the whole idea when you're watching a show. The audio sweeps you up with the laughter, and they were the first ones to introduce that. Also, they were the first ones to establish the live studio audience, filming in front of a studio audience for the first time. And they were also the first persons to use a 3-camera shot. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's a way of shooting, television productions. It allows you to get more depth. All right, now let's go on to the arrival of color television. This was another big event in TV. The networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, actually experimented with color in 1954, but not many shows had it. And it took really till the 1960s before the network started rolling out color because it's very expensive and it requires TV sets to be able to receive color images. Most people had black and white TVs in their home at this time. But it finally catches on with the NBC network. And still today, if you look at the icon of the NBC network, it's a peacock with all those demonstration of different colors. And that's to show you, the NBC is the forerunner in developing color for television. Now let's move to cable and satellite. This is another method of delivering television. Cable, most people are connected to, although a lot of people are disconnected to in favor of streaming. Some households have satellite. Cable was originally designed just as a delivery system for broadcast television. It was designed way out in Pittsburgh, actually, to get TV content to people who were living in the mountains who couldn't receive a signal. And one of the first channels, though, to take advantage of cable and make it different from that particular original purpose was HBO. HBO, 1975, we forget sometimes the name of that is Home Box Office. It's about the idea of bringing a movie into your home. It became the first channel to start to provide satellite programming to a satellite network. And what happened after that was satellites and cable systems started to merge together. So now cable systems as delivery systems are pulling in satellite content and then delivering that to audiences. I'd like to highlight a person now who has had a big impact on the cable industry. His name is Ted Turner, and he used to own a billboard company, Ted Turner. But he bought a channel in Atlanta, Georgia in 1970, which was called WTBS. And then he also took that channel and he turned it into CNN, the cable news network. That's Ted Turner. Mm-hmm. And he made this empire of CNN, which also includes TBS, WTBS, Turner Broadcasting System, runs Turner Classic Movies. He bought the Atlanta Braves. He bought the Atlanta Hawks. That's a baseball team and then a football team so that he could have content. He bought the MGM Film Library. He bought the Hanna-Barbera Cartoon Library. And so, Ted Turner exploded cable television more than anybody else. He's kind of known as the architect of it. And cable television has local access channels. We have a Blue Ridge Channel 13 that we can watch here. It's got cable networks, MTV, Nickelodeon, etc. It's got premium channels, HBO, that you have to subscribe to. It's got pay-per-view. It's got audio services. It's got the internet. I get the internet in my house through my cable company. And it has security systems, burglar alarms. So cable as a delivery mechanism for television has really become much more. Next up, we have the VCR. So the VCR we've already highlighted, but what we're trying to illustrate here is that television is expanding out into other avenues of distribution besides just that square top box. And one of those avenues is DBS, or Direct Broadcasting Satellite, which is a satellite up in the sky, and it beams down towards you. But satellite is being threatened by digital television. Digital television was forced by the FCC to be complied with by all television broadcasters. So there's no more analog television. But what digital television brought in was high definition television, the widescreen format, and the detail with which you can see the images now because of high definition. You can see the wrinkles. You can see the wrinkles on a person's face because of high definition. All right, next what we're going to do is talk about ratings. TV stations, just like radio, rely on ratings. This is a country where TV is business. And so the way that the rating systems work is there's a company called Nielsen, the Nielsen ratings, the top 10 Nielsen television shows are something that most people know about. And the Nielsen ratings are where that company Nielsen measures the size of the audience that is either viewing or watching a TV program and then provides the data for that to TV stations. You have at 8 o'clock at night this many 18 to 34-year-old women watching your station. And so then that data then gets taken to advertisers by salespeople for the TV station. And the salespeople say, hey, we are number one. We're the number one TV show in females 18 to 35. Would you be interested cosmetic products in advertising with us? That's a stereotype there, but I'm just giving an example. That's how TV ratings work. All right, along comes Fox Television. That's what I want to highlight next, which changed the entire game. Fox Television, Rupert Murdoch was the founder of Fox Television. He came over from Australia, and he actually took out citizenship in the United States just so that he could purchase a network, Fox, and he built it up into a huge network. And he also entered a political viewpoint into the news coverage, which then shook up the rest of the cable television networks, also offering now opinionated news coverage like MSNBC. All right, so I have a part 2 of this instructor video lecture, but my phone is telling me that I'm about to run out of memory, so I'm going to stop the video in case I need to do a part 2 here.